Can you feel the sunshine? Make it brighter for me.
So
Lea Porter, not just an amazing parent, but an incredible real estate agent that we all look up to. I know me and so many people that I'm friends with in the real estate world look at you like an icon. Like, not just because you crush it, but your presence. It's not just the work you're doing. You like show for it, and you're always so put together, and you're calm. And it's one of those things that I know on the outside, we didn't really know each other before this that well, that I've always looked at and been like, that's just to aspire to.
Oh, thank you.
And my mom and I talk about it. We think you're just so chic.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, let's dive into some questions, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. You operate at a very high level. What originally brought you into real estate?
Well, originally, when I was at University of Texas in Austin, I needed a job. And I thought, oh, here's a great idea. I'll be a receptionist at this real estate company. But at that time, there was no voicemail. And the phones would light up. You know, the calls would just roll, and you would have to push the button, answer the call, take a message, push the next button. So I didn't get any studying done. I was constantly on the phones. But what I did realize, and I was an accounting major, was how exciting the world of real estate was. Because now I was kind of privy to it. I would see these agents running in and these agents running out. And I liked the freedom of it at that young age. But I was on a path to be an accounting major at the University of Texas, the business school. So I graduated from that, and then I went to grad school, and I got a master's in finance. And the entire time thinking real estate. And I moved to California after I graduated. And at that time, you could, because I had a master's, I could sit for the broker's license, the California broker's license, which I did in the 80s. And I got my broker's license. Now I'm working in corporate finance at Xerox in El Segundo. And I'm trying to be, you'll laugh, a Century 21 agent in the South Bay with the gold jacket and that on your business card. And
Come a long way.
I've come a long way from trying to be a corporate financial analyst to a Century 21 agent. And, you know, what I realized was you can't do both. And so at an early age, I made the decision to leave the corporate world, which a lot of people at that time, you didn't leave companies like Xerox. It's kind of like saying, I got a job at Google, but I'm leaving. You know, Xerox and IBM, they were the behemoths of the companies back then. They were the Amazons and the Googles and, you know, SpaceX. They were the big companies. And I was at TRW before I was at Xerox. So TRW was like SpaceX. But I realized that just wasn't for me. And so I quit and went to go work at a small boutique in Beverly Hills. And that is how I got my start. So at that time, it was
Which one?
Very tiny company called Trope. And Mike Trope was the son of Trope was a divorce lawyer, big divorce lawyer. And he started a small boutique. And I would show up every day at 8 a.m., which our industry doesn't even wake up before 10.
Mm-mm.
So I get there because I have a corporate training background, and you show up at the office, and I would turn on lights and I would make the coffee and I would answer the phones. And my first client was me answering a random call because I'm the only person there for 2 hours.
Yeah. And
it was this Asian buyer who said to me, he had $3 million to spend. You have to remember, this is in 1988.
That's a lot for that. That's a big deal.
It's like someone saying, I have $15 million today. And I was like, okay. And he said, and I don't know if I should buy one $3 million house or three $1 million homes. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, no, you should buy one $3 million home. And he asked me to prepare an entire pro forma and business plan for a $3 million house, which I did. And because I had this background. And then I started showing him houses. And then I sold him 722 North Rexford. It was my very first deal for $3 million, exactly $3 million.
Wow. Does he still have it? No.
Yeah, then I sold it for him.
Yeah. That's when you do a good job. Sometimes you're not sure. You're like, how did this go? When they ask you to come back or they refer you, you've done a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's still to this day a friend and a client.
Do you still think that you operate similar? Because like that's a very, it's so structured, and you came from a very structured background. And the more I talk, I feel like you are a very structured person.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. You can be type A and be super successful in this industry, or you can be like a type B person and also be very successful. It's different for everyone, but I feel like personally, I am like you. I have like that structured way of going about my life, and real estate, which can be so unstructured,
chaotic.
It can be super chaotic. And I mean, would you say that the way that you operate has changed since starting out?
I came back to work now, I think it's 4.5 years. So I started my real estate career in 1988. Okay. And I graduated college, and by 2002, I was married with 2 small kids. And in 2002, we moved to London. So I lived in London from 2002 to 2004. Came back.
Must have been fun shopping.
Oh, it was great living in London. I really loved it. So we came back in 2004. I had my 3rd child. And then I just retired and just thought, that's it. I'm going to raise these kids. We're going to travel. I'm done working. And I was literally done working. In fact, my husband tells a funny story that we were at like a cocktail party, and somebody actually came up to me and said, I'm thinking of selling my house. And I said, oh, good luck with that. And walked away. And he was like, wow, you really are done. Then,
you weren't even like, I have a friend. You're like, all right, good luck.
I was like,
I can't talk about it.
I'm so done with real estate. And then I went on and lived my life with zero. I mean, if I tell you, zero idea that I would ever come back to work. And it only really happened because of COVID. I was pretty much spending my life traveling. And, I lived in Taiwan, I lived in Paris, I've lived in London. I like living abroad. And so I just was never thinking I was going to come back to work. And how was I going to come back to work? Mm-hmm. Where were my clients? Where were the lawyers? Everyone that I had developed had either retired, wasn't in the business anymore, or like anything, had other relationships, that they had established for the last 15 years. So COVID happened, and we're all stuck at home for a solid year, right?
Yeah, some people are coming up with like knitting companies and cakes and random stuff, right? They're like, maybe I should step back in for a little. I
had a friend who was building a house. And so that kind of became our pet project, looking at kitchens. Now I've had my broker's license the whole time. I never gave it up. But all of a sudden now I'm looking at houses for her, kitchen ideas, bathroom ideas, backyards, styles. And then she says to me, well, maybe we should go look at some of these so I can actually see them. And I said, let's do it. It'll be fun. It'll be like going shopping for shoes, except we're shopping for houses, and we'll go to lunch. And it was literally Dumb and Dumber, going the wrong way, being late to appointments, like we were all over the map. And then I find one house in 2021 that I say to her, oh my God, this is like a sleeper. This is a great house. And it was on Mapleton. And we went and looked at it. And she was like, I have to buy this house. So the very first deal I did, September 2021, was a $27 million house under my own license.
She came back swinging. Who does that? Who takes a hiatus and then comes back and sells a $27 million house?
Was
Lea Porter does that.
It was Zoe. I didn't even have DocuSign. Thank God Kurt Rappaport, who I knew from, the old days, and Jade Mills, who were like the old guards. I had to call him and say, can David write the offer for me? Like, I didn't even know how to, I didn't remember how to do it. I didn't know the new contract, and they did. But the negotiation came back pretty quickly. And
you
then
don't lose that charm. Like, you might have forgotten a couple paperwork things, but you don't forget how to negotiate. Like, you don't forget how to ride a bike. It just it comes back.
Yeah, that is true.
It's built in you. I'm sure, when you were living in Paris, we were negotiating for like vintage like Pradas or Manolos or whatever. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, you're once a negotiator, always a negotiator.
I've been one since I came out of like the womb. My favorite thing growing up was to go to like the flea markets and like all the vintage like luxury shops all over the world. Like, that's my hobby. And so if I'm not doing real estate, I'm negotiating on like bags and shoes and everything like that. I've always been like that. It's fun for me. If I don't feel like I'm getting a deal, like, it's not really as worth it as, shoes are shoes. But it's a fun part about like doing it like that, which real estate is, that's, the art of the deal, I think, is the most fun part. Don't get me wrong. Closing is super nice. There's a relief. There's a check. There's happy clients. There's a lot of like positive stuff there that feels so good. But there's nothing like being in that deal and the rush in that deal. That is why people just keep coming back for more.
Right. Right. Then I realized, pretty quickly after that deal that I needed to go to an office. Went to Coldwell Banker, which is the last office I was at. And I loved my manager there, but I felt the office didn't have enough energy. I mean, I remember an office that was a bullpen. Nobody worked from home. Everybody showed up at the office at 9 a.m. Everybody was dressed. And that, in my head, was what I was going back to. I was going back to the 90s and the 2000s, where people wore high heels.
We're thinking the same thing right now. Put on a cute outfit, go to the office.
And have coffee and chat with people and be in a bullpen. And that is the energy. I came back, it was like tumbleweeds going through the office.
I haven't been in an office that feels any sense of community ever in real estate, other than where we're at right now, the Beverly Hills Estates. That I've never had, and I've never actually even enjoyed my time with other realtors until this.
Well, it is interesting. So I was there for a year. And again, I loved my manager and I loved the support staff. There just was never anybody in the office. Yeah. And I'm just rolling around by myself looking for people to talk to.
Dead cubicles. It's like very depressing.
It was just nobody showed up.
Make it brighter for me.